Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Best of 2022 brought to you by Get Your Geek On. I'm Robert, joined by Aaron and Keith. And on this episode, we are highlighting season 4 of Stranger Things. It came back finally. We had a long wait to get to season 4, but we're going to talk about why it was worth the wait because season 4 was awesome. So we're going to get into why we loved it and also, recommending it for people that maybe haven't checked it out yet. So let's talk a little Stranger Things. Aaron, I know we talked about this when the show came out. You hadn't watched any Stranger Things. You caught up all the
Yes,
way through. You watched it. But what was it specifically about season 4 that you loved?
I won't lie. It is Eddie. Eddie's the reason I love season 4. I love the whole idea of like D&D behind it. I know it was throughout the whole first couple seasons, but now it's straight up in your face. Like, here's D&D. Here's all this about it. And the stigmata that was behind it when it first came out of, oh, this is like, Satan worshiping, devil worshiping, whatever. Like, this is against God and all those people. And I remember even in the 90s and early 2000s, people still thought that. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't as bad, but you still hear about it. And I like that we got to see Eddie kind of bring a little more charismatic side of it all. It's not, oh, we're in our mom's basement. We're not talking about what we're doing. It's like, no, guys, I'm in the Hellfire Club, and here I am. So I will say Eddie was the main reason I love this season.
Awesome. What about you, Keith? What made you love season 4 of Stranger Things?
I'm gonna go obscure. I really loved Murray in this season. He kind of he like redeemed himself and like, all right, he kind of gives like all conspiracy theorists like a little bit of hope. Like one day they might be right and be able to save the day with some karate. Like you thought he was gonna be kind of like a Dobie, like oh he's gonna try to karate chop this guy and then he's gonna end up being a dork. No, when he actually delivered through on his threat of being a lethal weapon. So, but Murray throughout the whole season was one of my delicious treats for me.
Well, it's funny because I've been watching Stranger Things since it first came out, and I really enjoyed, especially the first season. Seasons 2 and 3 I thought were good, but maybe not as good as season 1. And man, when season 4 rolled around and I was watching it, I was like, man, this is everything I've like. This is bringing me back to how I felt watching the first season. And for me, it's a little bit of Lucas, and his dynamic as he's kind of navigating his world of trying to fit in but still not lose his friends. He's trying
Mm-hmm.
to, kind of join the popular kids. Like I really connected to that storyline. And then, Max as well, dealing with grief and trauma from everything she's gone through. And, that episode 4, which is, everybody knows that episode, running up this hill, where Max is being attacked by Vecna. And I mean, the thing that this show does so well is, even though there aren't a lot of main characters that end up dealing with a lot of specific like danger, where
Mm-hmm.
like you kind of are like confident they're going to come through it. What it does is it raises the tension level. And like there's never I never felt comfortable watching this whole season. I was like, Max is gonna die. And then she was fine at the end of that episode. And like I like not gonna spoil things totally, but it was like, oh, she'll be good for the rest of the season. That was her scare. Not really. Like there's more things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And I loved that the show kept doing that, and it kept kind of pushing that level of tension up. And just bringing in Vecna as a villain. He was probably my favorite villain so far, again because we get that personal touch where we get like he's got like those humanoid characteristics. He's got like an agenda. Whereas, in the earlier seasons, it was like the mind flayer, or, there's different things where it didn't really feel like it was personal. This felt personal. Like Vecna was out to get these kids. And that was really cool and something that I really latched onto with this season.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love the villain. I love Vecna in this one. He's still one of my favorite villains.
Yeah, for sure. What else? I mean, talking through this show that we loved, it was about 9 episodes. Some of those episodes are really long, but one of the things that really stands out is like there were multiple different storylines. So I guess maybe that's where we'll pivot to next. What was everyone's favorite kind of storyline or group of characters that they followed around?
I mean, I'm still gonna have to go with like Eddie and them because I think I honestly I'm gonna kind of skip. I think my favorite part was getting to experience the Upside Down a lot more. We got to see Vecna's world almost like through his eyes. Like this is what he sees every day. This is what he's going through. Throughout the whole series, we've gotten glimpses of it where in like season 1 they get taken there and it's like this darker world that we're seeing, but we really don't get to experience the true danger of it until we get to see, obviously spoilers, Eddie getting eaten by vampire bats, essentially, or by bats, or whatever you want to go with. We get to see all the struggles they're facing. We get to see how Vecna sees his home now because it's completely destroyed and mangled, and how he's taken those bodies and basically trapping their souls there. I think that was my whole favorite part, was just following that main storyline. And I mean, I know like you said, we had a lot. We had what's going on in Russia. We had that part. We have kind of Eleven's storyline with her father. I think that was all of them, right? There was like 3, or was there a fourth
and the
one?
California crew.
The California, that's right, because at first they're separated for a while. I forgot.
Yeah, exactly.
So I enjoyed everything that was happening with our main people and the Upside Down.
Okay. How about you, Keith?
Well, like you were saying with the Upside Down, what I liked was you got an actual like really good explanation and as to where the Upside Down came from and where it started. And the way they wrote it, it was. I'm usually kind of annoying where I'm watching stuff with my wife, and it'll be like the first episode in, and I'll be like, "He did it. This is why." Blah blah blah. And she's like, and then you'll get that glare from the other side of the couch. She goes, "If you ruined another show or movie for me, I swear to God." And then the way the season was progressing, I was like, "Oh, maybe I was wrong," and then came back around, and she goes, "You were right from the beginning, but like at least it was like it didn't come out till the end. But you ruined the surprise for me." I go, because I remember kept seeing, the numbers, and I go, they never mention who one is. And I'm like, I bet the kid in the dream is probably one. And I go, and how that the one guy was being so friendly. I'm like, he's too friendly. I bet he's the bad guy.
Never trust the friendly guy in an insane asylum.
Right. So
I mean, it wasn't an insane asylum, but yeah.
Right. And then I just loved all the nostalgia that and then kind of like gave the rockers a little bit of I love the one part I died was when they're like, we need good music, and he holds up the cassette like, this is Dozer.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a great moment. I got it. And one of the things that Stranger Things has done so well over the years is adding in new characters, whether it be a Max in season 2, or an Erica as we get like more with her. And one of my favorite, you mentioned Eddie, one of my favorite new characters of this season was Argyle. He was used the perfect amount. The California hippie who just it was only there for a little bit, but every time he showed up, I was just dying. I was loving his character, it's like, just talking about, like the whole scene where they're like, having to bury the FBI agent, whatever, and he's talking about we got to put this tombstone, and they're all like, this is supposed to be a secret. We don't want anyone to know that there's a dead guy here. And I just it was so funny. So yeah, I mean, ultimately the season had everything. It was funny. It had, great moments that were scary. It had, great action beats, great emotional beats. We really, that moment where, again, I don't want to spoil things, but in that final episode, when what happens and Lucas is screaming it broke me watching him just sitting there on the floor screaming in pain. It's just so good. And that's ultimately watching this season. The highest compliment I can pay to this season is I watched it and I went, I want to go back and watch the rest of I want to go restart and watch Stranger Things from the beginning again, because this season was so good. That being said, as we wrap this up, who is Stranger Things for? It's been out for a few seasons now. It's been out for a while. But if people haven't gotten into it yet, what could we say? We would say, no, this is for you. This is for, anyone. So, Keith, who's this one for? Who's Stranger Things for?
I would say definitely with this season, it kind of goes back more into like the horrors or like a horror movie esque thing. Like if you were into 80s horror movies, like the Jason and the Freddy's and all that, I think you would definitely not only like the whole show, but definitely season 4. I think you'd really enjoy if that was your thing.
See, and I think I kind of agree with you. I think it is very much the horror fans for this season specifically. They're going to come back and enjoy this. It has enough of like almost the hack and slash kind of feel to it, and enough of like the scary factor, And I say hack and slash because very loosely, because it's not, you only get it a little bit here and there, I feel like. But the series as a whole, I would say this could be for anybody, like anyone who just loves action adventures, like fantasy, role playing kind of thing. Because again, we get like some hints of like, oh, there's kind of like this character in their D&D game, and this character, okay, that's who the villains are. I think it could be for anybody. I know my kiddo isn't a big fan of like, D&D. She loves horror to an extent. She's not big on like the old school stuff, but she truly loves this show. She fell in love with 11, which I do want to say too. I'm always happy to see strong female characters, and that's what we get with her. And even though where it's like, love this boy, it's about this boy. It's like, no, it's not. It wasn't. And I don't want to go too much more into that. But yeah, I think it's for everybody.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think that, the show is not just for horror people. I'm not a big horror guy, but I think the show, the characters, the story, all those things really connect it. So we love this show. We want to know what you thought. Did you love season 4? Did you think it was the best season, the worst season? Let us know down in the comments. Aaron, take us out.
So for Aaron, Robert, and Keith, this is Get Your Geek On. Check us out at official GYGO on all of our platforms, TikTok, Facebook, etc. Until next time, guys, stay geeky and get your geek on.
Bye.